Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of The Man Tracks. I'm JJ.
And I'm Sarah.
Hey, that was like really clean and that was smooth. Welcome back everybody to that place where we go to get away from all the things that have a point. Yeah, we're here. We're doing the thing. All right, you ready to approach the news desk?
I am.
All right, give it to me.
All right, so my first story is just so bizarre. So U.S. Coast Guard arrests a man trying to run a giant hamster wheel across the Atlantic.
Okay, so I saw it, but I didn't read this article.
Yeah.
So what?
So this man named Reza Baluchi, I'm probably butchering it. He's a man who was granted asylum from Iran.
Okay.
And he lives in Florida, so this is a Florida man story. So apparently he has made several attempts to do this before. So he lives in Florida, and he has created a giant floating hamster wheel made of buoys and wire, which is self-propelled by this man running inside of it. It's the most bizarre-looking thing. Like, this is what it looks like.
Yeah,
he built it. He built it himself.
But
it's propelled by his movement.
Right, he has to run.
Yep, and it has buoys on it that keep it afloat.
That's so weird.
So he's attempted 4 times now. This is his 4th attempt to cross the Atlantic Ocean from Florida to get to London.
But you can't do that, right?
Well, he thinks you can. So apparently the story this time is weird. So he was taken aboard a Coast Guard ship last week following several days of back and forth with authorities.
What?
So there was a criminal complaint filed after a Coast Guard cutter came upon this man who was about 70 nautical miles east of Tybee Island, Georgia, on the 26th of August. They were preparing for Hurricane Franklin, so they were doing runs along the water. They came across this man who in his giant hamster wheel, and he told the Coast Guard that his destination was London, which is over 4,000 miles away.
I don't understand. Like, does he have food in there with him?
I don't know. The Coast Guard asked the man for his vehicle's registration. Apparently, you must have your vehicle registered, even in the waters of...
Sir.
But he said he couldn't find it.
Well, no kidding.
So the Coast Guard looked at his hydropod and said it was conducting an unsafe voyage.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. I don't know where there's any criminal, what's the big,
Just wait.
Okay.
So they told the man that they were going to end his voyage due to it being unsafe. However, the man replied that he had a 12-inch knife and would attempt to kill himself if the officers attempted to remove him from his vessel.
I'm going to hold myself hostage.
What? The officers tried again over the next day or so. So they're following him, trying to coerce him into putting his...
Hey, don't stab yourself.
Yeah, putting his knife down. But then the man displayed 2 knives and threatened to hurt himself if officers boarded his vessel. He also threatened to blow himself up.
Like in his inflatable bubble?
They saw him holding wires in his hand and believed him.
Wow. So this is serious.
A following day, a second Coast Guard boat arrived and sent a boat to deliver food, water,
what is this
and
story?
News of a hurricane coming. The man still refused to leave his vessel and told the officers that the bomb he had wasn't real.
Well, I kind of guessed at. It's like, no, you don't.
So
have
it's
a
been
bomb.
4 days now. So 4 days later, they sent another small boat and were able to safely remove the man from his floating hamster wheel.
Oh my gosh.
He was brought ashore to Miami Beach last Friday.
Wow.
And was released on $250,000 bond.
Well, yeah, I bet that they wasted a lot of resources doing this with this guy while prepping for a hurricane. That's not cool.
He's barred from travel outside the Southern District of Florida. He may not go on board a vessel on the ocean or go to the ocean. So apparently this wasn't even his first try. He's tried this before in his giant hamster wheel in 2014, 16, and 21.
So he's been doing it every couple of years. I'm going to cross the ocean.
Yep. Every single time the U.S. Coast Guard has intervened.
What? That's so interesting.
But it hasn't stopped. Apparently this man is super bizarre. He also has, so it says he was profiled in the New York Times several years ago for completing a Forrest Gump style run across the country. And he did it not once, but twice.
Okay, so this guy has the chops
Just
to do the
quirky,
running,
though.
you know?
So he was the focus of a short documentary.
So he gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, about his 2014 and 16 attempts to travel from Boca Raton, Florida to Bermuda. And apparently that time his attempt was really bizarre. And like he was lost in his little bubble thing, and apparently it was really hot, and people were concerned that he was going to die in there because like the temperatures could reach upwards of like 120
don't even want to
degrees.
think about like where does he go to the bathroom?
I don't even want to know. So apparently he was just not unequipped. He wasn't well prepared. Wow. The temperatures were high. He was lost, and he couldn't get to Bermuda. So it's so strange. This man is just determined to go across the Atlantic, but he doesn't have the right supplies. He doesn't have the tools.
He's planned for anything.
Every single time they've had to bring him back to shore because something goes wrong.
I feel like so there's two comments that pop into my head about this. On the one, I just read this article. It was covering the bad behavior of fans at musical performances over the past summer. Right? It's been a big summer for concerts, Taylor Swift and Beyonce and all this kind of stuff. But fans have been acting out, and by that I mean they're like rushing the stage, they're throwing things, they're doing like, and they get these viral moments, they get these big things, they get their 15 seconds of fame or whatever. And what I was reading was talking about how our culture is so obsessed with going viral and getting attention for anything. Just do something that gets you attention, whether it's good behavior or bad, but bad behavior gets you more attention. And so you have people, and it's like at some point our culture can't sustain that.
No,
we can't keep doing this. We have to stop rewarding bad behavior. And so I feel like this is a classic case of like, this guy, I don't think it's safe, but we should stop writing news articles about it. You know, it's like, I honestly thought it was really funny. The first, like, I saw the headline and I was like, that's hilarious. He was in a hamster ball. But now that I know all the story, it's like, dude, not cool.
It kind of makes you wonder, like, what is this guy's goal? Like,
yeah, what?
Honestly,
it seems to me like the goal is the attention, right? Like the goal is tons of people, documentaries written about you, you're profiled in the New York Times, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
The second thing that pops in my head is like, I mean, people want to do weird stuff. Like when the Coast Guard stepping in seems reasonable to me to save this man's life, but when are we allowed to be idiots, right? Like the Forrest Gump jogging thing. Like when does someone step in and say you're gonna die, right? Or like, you know, the first person to climb Everest. Probably there were people who were like, don't go, you can't go. Right. It's like we've done amazing things in history by believing in ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that this guy is some hero, but like, what if they had done that to the Wright brothers, right? Yeah. You're going to do what? No, that's insane. And then they like throw him in jail for a week or something. Yeah, and it's like, no, then we wouldn't have airplanes.
That's true.
You know?
Although I don't know what he's trying to accomplish here with his...
I'm not, I don't want to like glorify what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just bizarre. So it says whether or not these orders will be enough to keep Bellucci on land remains to be seen. And this quote, "Dream no coming after you," he told Vice. "You must follow your dream."
So, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So he's dreaming of something, and he's just determined to get there.
The fact that he can run the Forrest Gump run, like coast to coast or whatever, that's actually, I find very impressive. And it's like, wow, okay, so maybe you can do this, you know?
Very dog-headed.
Yeah, you know, you can get it done. Wow, but that was a crazy story.
Crazy.
I didn't know all that stuff about like taking 4 days and threatening himself with knives.
I just read the title and I was like, oh, this is so goofy. This is going to be like a weird story. But
I got serious.
He has done this 4 times. Like this is his 4th attempt. And he's been fined multiple times for it.
I feel like the Coast Guard should like help him out. It's like, okay, look, okay, dude, you really are determined to do this. Let's go. Go as far as you can. We'll have a boat come next to you. We'll set aside a week or whatever. I just don't think you can run 4,000 miles and without, well, I mean, what are you going to do? You have to bring enough food somehow, you know?
I don't understand his resources, but...
Where are you getting your water, my dude? Yeah.
Seriously.
Interesting.
Anyways, what's your story?
Okay. Parmesan makers add microchips to cheese wheels to foil counterfeiters.
What? This is
I'm just
my
gonna read
brain
it again.
hurts.
Parmesan makers add microchips to cheese wheels to foil counterfeiters. So, first of all, I learned a little thing this past week. In the EU, in the European Union, you are not allowed to use the name Parmesan unless you are from the one place that Parmesan cheese actually comes from in Italy.
Oh, wow.
It's banned. It's like trademarked. No one else makes Parmesan cheese. The problem is in America, we don't have that.
Yeah, we
rule.
don't have those
Anybody
kind of
can
rules
make
and
Parmesan, and
Yeah.
anybody can make cheese and slap Parmesan on
Yeah.
the label. So counterfeit cheese in Europe, Parmesan cheese, is a huge deal. It's like this whole market, and it's like they're very snobbish about it. And not snobbish. They're very proud of the heritage of Parmesan, and only real Parmesan comes from the place where Parmesan comes from.
Wow.
And so Parmesan makers have been adding microchips to their cheese wheels to foil counterfeiters.
This seems incredibly unsafe.
It's fascinating. Chicago-based P-Chip boasts that its nanotechnology can be added to quote-unquote virtually any physical good. Its microtransponders can add tracking and authentication to electronics and computing goods, product packaging, automotive components, and more.
Wow.
They have found a way to integrate it into food. The first successful story in the world of edibles is within the purportedly widely counterfeited Parmigiano Reggiano cheese.
Wow.
It's fascinating. Fighting counterfeiting is essential to protect many businesses. However, it's not always been easy to track and authenticate edible products until now.
Wow.
Isn't that just amazing? In the EU alone, there's more than 3,500 food products that have received protected status, vital to keeping those signature industries alive. Food businesses generate more than $87 billion annually.
Wow.
Parmigiano Reggiano cheese is made using traditional ingredients and methods in a specific region of Italy.
Yeah.
And its worldwide sales add up to a cool $2.44 billion.
Wow.
So the real Parmesan, it's like champagne, right?
Yeah.
Champagne is it can only be made in that one region of France, the
Yeah.
Champagne Valley or whatever. And everything else is actually an imitation, but nobody knows that, right?
Wow.
Sadly, for authentic businesses, it is estimated that counterfeit copies rake in almost as much, about $2 billion. So the actual industry is barely bigger than the counterfeit industry.
That's ridiculous.
The
And I had no idea.
Right, I was so fast. I was like, "Whoa!"
This is so bizarre.
I kind of want to go try this real Parmesan.
I know. What is
cheese.
that like?
I've been eating fake stuff all this time. It's America, right? That's what we do.
Yeah, we copy everything.
The P-chip microtransponder is a grain of salt-sized silicon chip containing a unique identification code that is attached to a silicon substrate. When the modulated laser pulse scans the chip, power goes through its circuits and transmit a unique code via ultra-low radio frequency waves. So
People are ingesting this stuff?
I don't know if you eat it. It's in the packaging. Oh, there it is. They embed the P-chip in the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese wheel. The chip is inserted into I don't know how to say this word, casein? Casein, casein label on the cheese wheel, which becomes a part of the cheese rind during its preparation process. So it's on the rind, and people don't eat that part, right? So it's no big deal. They just put it in the rind. Cheese buyers aren't going to eat the embedded label.
Wow. That's so weird.
Apparently these chips, these P-chips, the reason they're such a big deal, they are virtually impossible to duplicate or counterfeit. They are tiny, durable, and affordable. They can withstand extreme temperatures from negative 200 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius. They are microwave. I know, right? They are microwave hardy. It means they can survive a microwave. They are claimed to be safe for direct food contact, and they can withstand solvents and reagents, and they can be scanned through paper, glass, animal tissue, frost, and labels.
Wow.
So
That's
these chips are just
bizarre.
incredible, and they're
Yeah.
let's put it in the rind of Parmesan cheese to crack down on Parmesan cheese counterfeit.
The things you never knew that apparently people need.
Oh my gosh.
I've never heard of that ever, and now this is information that I'm...
Parmigiano Reggiano.
Right? Now I'm going to check my labels.
The authentic one comes from a specific region in Italy. Who knew? And what I didn't know is that in the EU, you are not allowed. It's trademarked.
that
You can't
label.
say Parmesan cheese on anything. Even if you make your own Parmesan cheese, like in Germany, you are not allowed to use the word Parmesan. It is trademarked.
So what do they call it then?
I don't know.
Dry,
Pizza
hard,
cheese.
aged cheese. Italian cheese.
The spaghetti cheese.
The spaghetti cheese. Wow. All right. Anyways, so my next story is weird.
That's what we do.
Yeah. A yoga class meditation exercise is confused for a ritual mass murder scene.
Wait, what?
So on September 8th, police descended on a community space in Britain where some local dog walkers mistook a yoga class's group meditation exercise for the results of a ritual mass murder.
Wait. So
they looked in, saw a room full of people laying on the ground meditating and thought they were dead, and they called the police.
Those people killed themselves.
Yep. So there was the Seaside Cafe at the North Sea Observatory in Chapel St. Leonard's, England, detailed this unusual incident in a Facebook post. If anyone heard of the mass police sirens in Chapel St. Leonard's at 9:30 p.m. last night, please be reassured. They were on their way to the observatory after someone reported a mass killing in our building, having several people laying on the floor, which actually turned out to be a yoga class and meditation.
That's amazing. That's the best. I love that story so much.
A group of dog walkers called it in. Like they're like walking their dogs at 9:30 at night, and they're like, "There's dead people in there." So it just says, "Dear general public, please be mindful that the observatory has lots of yoga classes happening in the evenings. We're not part of any mad cult or crazy clubs."
Oh my! I bet they were all wearing matching tracksuits, and then they were all sprawled out on the ground and maybe they had refreshments in the back. Oh,
I'm just thinking, like, what do you do if you're a police?
Dog walkers group, like, look at the sign and
or
say,
yeah.
"Oh, yoga." Oh,
it's just
mass murder.
Said the teacher said that the class had already dispersed by the time the police arrived at the building. She said she learned about the police's visit in a phone call from the building's manager. I was shocked. It was surreal. I couldn't believe it was true. I had spoken to most of the people who took part, and they just said how crazy it was. They were all participating in beautiful, deep relaxation, and it could have never run through any of our minds that could be taken in this way.
No, I don't think the yoga people did anything at all.
No, the yoga people are just doing the yoga stuff.
Like, it's completely dog walkers' fault.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious. And very embarrassing for dog walkers who are like, I feel like we live in this world. It's like when you you hear those stories about, oh my gosh, there's like drugs in the candy at Halloween, and you hear these stories and they're blown way out of proportion.
Right.
It's like the reality of, it's like, I'm not saying these things never happen. There have been, but it's
cult, less common than you think.
But it's like, man, you got to get away from the TV. Stop watching your
Don't
serial
you're like
killer
building
dramas.
Things up into some weird sort of fantasy world.
People are just doing some yoga in the park. Leave them, or whatever, the observatory. Leave them alone.
I couldn't.
That's
I saw that article
awesome.
and I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Is this really what? Just the visual of a bunch of people laying on a floor meditating and somebody walking by thinking, oh my gosh.
What kind of pose do you think they were doing? Like,
they probably were just laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Like,
and like had some peaceful music going, and maybe they couldn't hear the music through the thing. Oh my gosh. But if you see a bunch of people on yoga mats laying down, your first thought is mass suicide? Like, that's weird. What is happening in your world?
Your brain jumped to some pretty crazy conclusions if that's the case.
It's hilarious though. That is.
Can you imagine being the teacher of that class, being there cleaning up afterwards, and all of a sudden the police come busting in like, where are the dead
bodies? What are you talking about?
What do you mean? There was a yoga class here just
there's
45
no blood,
minutes ago.
There's no bodies.
What?
There's no evidence. There's just.
Well, somebody called in.
Oh my
God. Somebody's wrong. I couldn't. It was just so ridiculous. So, anyways.
It's a perfect story.
Clearly label your yoga class on all sides of the building. But
also dog walkers, maybe just
chill
move
out.
along. Yeah. My goodness. Are you ready for Sponsor Your Life?
I am. So this past week, I guess last week already, we started classes for the boys for school.
Yeah.
So our homeschooling classes have begun. And it was a good first week, even though we had some days of sickness, which was very unexpected.
Yeah, that was no fun.
It was really fun. I like back to school stuff. The boys really did well and kicking off everything. And just the curriculum we're using this year is fun.
Yeah, they seem to have a good time.
Yeah, we used the kindergarten curriculum that Amos is using. We used that for Liam when he was in kindergarten, and then Liam's on to second grade. So it's a similar curriculum to what we used last year. But yeah, it was really fun. It was a good first week. They had lots of fun activities. We spend lots of time outside, which is always good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was sponsoring my life this week.
You know what I did this past week? I noticed, I was checking the thing, and I noticed that somebody had listened to an episode of our podcast and then gone back to the very first episode and listened to the first episode and then the second. Like, they're starting to go through all of our episodes because, you know, I get the reports or whatever, and it's like hardly anybody's listening to the early episodes, but then it was like somebody's clicking through them, and it was like, aw. And then I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't even remember what our first episode was like. So I went back and listened to, and I was like, oh, wow, you know, and it was like we had done more products and that kind of stuff. Now we've been doing more experiences, which I love. Like, they're all sponsoring life, you know?
Products. But, yeah, we did do that a lot.
You know, just like movies, TV show, food, but also stuff that we've purchased that we appreciate. And so I'm going to go with kind of a combo of both food and like a thing that we've purchased. So we recently... we ran out of coffee.
Which is shocking.
That happens a lot. But we went and got some whole bean coffee and we ground it up ourselves. We haven't done that in a long time. We always just get pre-ground stuff, right? Yeah. But this whole bean is Truck Stop Organics is the brand. And it's whole bean coffee, the Daybreak Roast. It was amazing. Like I could taste so much more. Yeah, it was really fun. And we ground it, and even just like a couple days later, it's still more freshly ground than what's in those bags you buy. So it was delicious, and it was so much fun. And I was reminded how much I really appreciate good coffee, freshly ground. And so, yeah, that was definitely sponsoring my life today. Nice. Truck Stop Organics.
Local to Traverse City.
Yes, that's right. Roasted
Michigan
in
made.
Traverse City.
Very cool.
Woo-hoo.
Very cool.
All right, so I don't even know what to call this segment, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're just going to talk about stuff because that's what we want to do. So we went, I officiated a wedding this past weekend, and it was so much fun. And it just got us kind of in the mood for weddings. We haven't been to a wedding, you and I.
It's been years.
My parents were able to come out and watch the boys, so you and I went to a wedding together. And we haven't done that in a long time. And I did a few over the pandemic, but that slowed down in a big way in the last few years. So this was so much fun. It was my first wedding up at this church and in this area. We had a great time. It was so much fun. Kiddos were kind of sick, so we didn't stay too long.
Yeah,
but
it was still fun.
It kind of got us in that wedding mood,
yeah.
You know, that wedding vibe. And so I have two different articles that I want to talk about. The first one comes from churchleaders.com. They write articles about all kinds of like random viral stuff that happens in the internet. Okay. And so there's this guy, Ed Stetzer. Do you know Ed Stetzer?
Yeah.
He was the chair of the Billy Graham Institute at Wheaton College. He's written a bunch of books. He's a pastor, but he's not at one church. He's taken a lot of different jobs. I think most recently he's like out in California. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyways, Ed Stetzer, pastor type guy. He posted a thing, I think it was on Twitter, because this is a while ago, asking pastors to share their most embarrassing wedding mistakes. Uh-oh. And so I just wanted to go through some of these because they're amazing. Oh, he's also Outreach Magazine's editor-in-chief.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got his hands in everything. He's a very talented guy. I really like him. Okay, so there's over 700 responses. We won't go through all of them. Okay. This one said, in one of my early weddings, I forgot to have the bride and groom kiss. They just assume that Protestants don't do that. Oh. And they were both raised Catholic, so they just went on with it.
That's weird.
That would be so embarrassing.
Yeah, that would be.
This one says, Ed, I trusted the mother of the bride to turn in the marriage license after my first marriage ceremony. Needless to say, it never got turned in. A furious bride called me almost a year later when they were filing their taxes, only to realize that they were not legally married.
Oh. Why would you put that in the hands of someone else?
No,
you're the
pastor
officiant.
has to do it.
You need to be responsible for that.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
Right before the ceremony, the groom told me that where they were going for the honeymoon. I proceeded to mention where they were going during the wedding ceremony. The groom and his family gasped as the destination was supposed to be a surprise for the bride.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. That's just bad news. Yikes.
I just... At my very first wedding, I said to the bride, place your thing on his ringer.
Ooh, boy.
While praying for the couple, I had intended to say, Lord, they have prayed all their life to find someone for a mate. Instead, I prayed, Lord, they have prayed all their life to find someone to mate.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, boy.
Married a young couple after church service. Most of the church stayed. At the presentation, I was supposed to say, who gives so-and-so here present to be married? And I said, who gives so-and-so here pregnant?
Ooh, that's a big slip.
Everybody laughed. She was not with child, but I still have nightmares.
I was going to say, that's embarrassing. I can't imagine. Nope, just kidding. Slip of the tongue.
I did a wedding for some dear friends. During the final prayer, I meant to say, grant them success. What came out was, grant them sex. I mean, success. Well, that too, I guess. I
guess in Jesus' name. You don't recover from that one. You just got to roll with it. Wow.
Officiating for the very first time, the couple asked me to read their homemade vows on their behalf.
Oh.
I stupidly agreed. Among other things, I had to look the groom straight in the face and say, I never thought I could love another man ever again.
Whew, why would you read a couple's vows? If you're going to write your own vows, you read your own vows there.
I asked the bride, are those real? I was worried about a fire because her train was dangerously close to a candle on the stage. Shocked, she said, what? And I replied, the candles, are those real? Relieved, and with a big smile, she said, no, the candles are fake.
Oh my gosh, that's awkward.
All right, so this guy, he said, I drove 1.5 hours the wrong way to a wedding venue. I had back-to-back weekends of officiating. The wedding venue I put into Apple Maps was the venue I went to the previous weekend. Thankfully, I left insanely early, so I still was able to make it in time.
Whew. How insanely early did you leave? Wow.
Right?
That's
you'd have
crazy.
to leave hours and hours early. Good for him. I love this one. The bride was on a very limited budget, and she wanted to color coordinate everything, so they spray painted all the candles so that they would match. As they burned down, the fumes became toxic, and the bridal party started dropping like dominoes. The groom dropped to his seat right in the middle of the ceremony, put his head between his knees so he wouldn't pass out. They had to stop the ceremony, blow all the candles out, open the windows to air the church out, and start all over.
Why wouldn't you think about that?
That's insane. You can't burn spray paint.
Why wouldn't you think about that? Why would you? Oh, wow. That's incredibly insane. And I hope everyone was okay.
Yeah. Whew.
You lost some serious brain cells.
I was picking at the groom before we walked out onto the stage. I told him if he wanted to leave now, I'd give him some gas money to get out of state. You know, just like joking and ribbing. Someone opened the door and told me the mic I had on was already hot.
No!
The mother of the bride was not amused.
Oh, no. I mean, but why would you joke like that?
I would never say it's not funny. Nope. While I was officiating a wedding, I had a time of prayer after a short message about biblical marriage. During the prayer, I meant to say, Lord, please bless this marriage. However, message started to come out instead of marriage. So I stopped myself from finishing the sentence. Unfortunately, what came out was, Lord, please bless this mess.
I was going to say, that's what came to my mind.
It's better than the other, right?
True.
In a reading from Genesis 2, I had a slip of the tongue at a wedding a couple years back. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and money and be united to his wife.
Hey, for richer or for poor, man, you made that promise.
I was officiating an outdoor wedding on a beach off of Lake Michigan. Hey. When it came time to exchange the rings, I fumbled the bride's ring. When the best man handed it to me, I dropped the ring in the sand and it got buried. I couldn't find it. I was sweating and crying inside. The groom and the best man and myself started picking up handfuls of sand in an attempt to locate the ring. It took about 5 minutes.
That's a big snafu.
Oh man, that's a bummer. Like, that's just terrible.
5 minutes. Can you imagine how awkward that would be?
All right, so I thought that was funny.
That's hilarious. I love it.
Ed Stetzer asking pastors for their goofy.
You don't really have any goofy stories like that.
I don't make a lot of mistakes.
Because you usually run through everything and you're
very careful.
Yeah, very careful.
I gotta say, it's because my dad's a pastor and I've watched him do so many weddings.
Yeah.
But it's not even that I've watched him do that many, but he knows how to do them really well.
Yeah.
So I paid really close attention, and I have heard stories like this, and so I always make sure that I'm like super on top of everything, because for me, I just worry, like, this is such a big deal. And I don't even like that we do this. We put so much pressure on one day, but you really don't want anything to go awry.
You don't want the bride and the groom to walk away and be like, dude, that was so awful or so awkward, or can you believe the pastor said that or did that or that happened? Like, you don't want to be the reason that they're like, what a weird ceremony.
Yeah, so I've done dozens of weddings, and I've never had any goofy, really anything,
Yeah.
So that's good, though.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's good. There's still hope for some time.
Of course, there's plenty ample opportunity to mess it up in the future.
She get older and a little more.
Okay, the next one I wanted to do was I found this article that is 40 outdated wedding traditions people really need to stop doing at their wedding.
Okay.
I think that's way too many. We won't go through all of them.
Let's go through the first half.
Yeah, and we'll just burn through these because I disagree with most of them.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I think
you have some opinions about weddings.
Well, maybe I'm more traditional. I just like some of the wedding traditionals. All right, so these are things they want us to stop doing at weddings.
Okay.
Number 1, walking down the aisle.
What?
Yeah, traditionally, a father walks his daughter down the aisle before handing her over to her future husband. At this point, the father is relieved of all duties, and the wife is now the husband's responsibility. Many aren't aware of what this tradition entails. But a bride is a human, not an object to give away. She's not being traded for 10 cows, so we should not do that. If you want to walk alone or with your mother or whatever, do it. I don't know.
I don't see it as a huge problem. We know it's symbolic.
Everybody knows that. Like, nobody's...
Yeah.
I don't see it as handing off anymore at all, because it's not. You're blessing the union.
And what... Here, I'm bringing her to you. She's your responsibility now. I'm sorry. When has the dad ever been one to care for the daughter? Usually the mom is. And when has the husband ever been the one to take responsibility for the wife? Usually the wife's doing everything. So let's be real here. Who's really responsible?
See, and I think so. The wedding we just did, they both walked it down. Mm-hmm. Mom and dad walked.
That's becoming much more common. I've seen that a lot more, where both parents walk the daughter down the aisle.
I see it as like it's a special thing for a father or a mother to walk their daughter down the aisle. It's like, we're so proud of you. We love you. We're supporting you. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's
saying goodbye. Yeah. And it's symbolic. It doesn't actually mean they're giving away their daughter. So
I think it's a silly thing.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Number 2, bad luck to see the dress. That's a tradition we should just give up on, where the groom is not allowed to see the bride in her wedding dress. I did think
it was interesting when you pointed out a long time ago the reason why they don't do that, because then it gives the groom a chance to...
Yep, because so the reason that the tradition of not seeing the bride on the wedding day started was because during arranged marriages, if the groom saw the bride ahead of time, he might run away.
Yeah.
So they
groom.
They didn't want him to see, just in case he didn't approve of her. That's a mess.
I mean, I think it's silly. I just think it's kind of special, and I'm super outdated and traditional, but like I don't know. We did a first look instead of
and we took pictures of that. That was I think it's a cute thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't take it to a superstitious level.
Neither do I. I'm not like it's bad luck.
I think that is dumb.
I think that is too.
But I also think it's nice to not see the person until the moment. You know. Yeah. I like it. Bouquet toss. Weddings where the couples are celebrated, the single people are called out. Why would you make a whole section of people feel awkward for not having a significant other?
Well, and the weird thing like, oh, if you catch the bouquet, you're going to be the next to get married.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Okay. I didn't do a bouquet toss, so.
Yeah, I'd be okay to let that one go.
Yeah,
that's not a big
fine
deal.
With saying
wedding favors. They say get rid of the useless wedding favors.
We were just talking about this when we went to the wedding last night. Like, So the bride and the groom for the wedding we went to last night, they did scratch offs, like dollar scratch offs,
which
and
was fun.
it was actually kind of fun.
In love, and
it was kind of cute, but like I do agree. Like when we had, like we didn't have wedding favors.
Wasn't it like M&Ms in a box?
Yeah,
or something?
We did little white boxes with like a ribbon on it, and it was just like candy because it was. We did blue M&Ms because that was the color that I chose.
Yeah,
but it's just a waste of stuff. Like people are gonna take those boxes home. Which we
away.
spent a bunch of money on boxes, and they're going to throw them away. And then it's like,
a knick-knack that nobody really wants.
It's pointless.
I thought the scratch-offs was actually really creative.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go.
We didn't win anything, so.
I also think it would be fine if I sat down to eat and there was nothing on my plate.
It's like, I'm fully, okay with that.
All right, here's one. The wedding party. They want to get rid of the wedding party. It consists of bridesmaids and groomsmen who are expected to accompany the couple every step of the way. It might sound like a privilege, but it's actually just a lot of unnecessary pressure.
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to have your friends there with you.
I think it's
to
great.
Celebrate. I don't think it's that big a deal.
I think wedding parties are important. That's half the thing. It's fun, you know? Mm-hmm. Cake smashing into the face. Smashing is wrong for numerous reasons. Firstly, the cake itself took many hours to make and cost way more than it should. The same could be said about the bride's dress and makeup, so why risk it?
Was this an angry baker who got cake smashed into her face at her own wedding? I don't think it's that big a deal. We did not smash cake into each other's faces. We literally just fed each other a cupcake. Like,
that was
and
nice.
our cupcakes were cute. I didn't think it was that big a deal.
I think the cake smashing is fun. Like when people do it, I love it. You know,
if it's in good fun. If it's like mean, like I'm gonna try and embarrass you.
Well, yeah, but I feel like that it's couple specific, right? Some couples are like, we're gonna be goofy with it, and some couples are more reserved,
right?
And hopefully, you will know your spouse enough to know they're gonna be whatever they are, and
right.
So I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Wearing white not wearing white at weddings. Like no one else is allowed to wear white because the bride wears white. That's a sort of unspoken tradition rule. And they're saying,
I don't have strong feelings about it. I've always been careful not to wear white because I just don't usually wear white. But I don't know. I could see where people would be like, yeah,
just let us wear white.
Get rid of it. But
I feel like nowadays people would not care. It's like, oh, you're wearing white, and people would kind of go, huh. You know, like.
But you're also not walking down the aisle, and you're also not going to be in all the pictures, and no one's going to mistake you for the bride. So,
get rid of the first dance. People who are shy to dance in front of large audience shouldn't be forced to do it just because.
So here's the thing: people who don't like that, just get rid of it at their wedding anyway.
Yeah, but for those
we had a lot of things that we skipped at our wedding because that wasn't our style.
We did a first dance though.
We did do that, but we didn't really have dancing at our wedding. Like people didn't really dance.
Not a lot, no.
So
but we did. Like we did a dance with you and your dad and me and my mom, right?
Yeah.
And then we had our dance, and so we did all that.
Yeah.
So this one is just saying white dresses. It has no meaning. Wear whatever color you look best in.
They're saying the bride.
Yeah, the bride should not have to wear white or should not be expected.
I like the idea of a white dress. I mean, I realize in our culture it literally means nothing.
No.
But I don't know. I think white dresses are classy. It looks pretty for a wedding.
I think so too. I wouldn't like if a bride chooses to do something different, that's fine. But then you can't pick her out as easy. You know, in the big room, it's always like the bride is right there.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
Flash mob dance party.
Is this a problem?
I guess some have cringe-worthy flash mob dancing at the reception.
This just sounds like someone's opinion piece that they decided to start grinding their axe on.
I'm just
like,
mad.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, this one just says wasting money. I'm actually maybe on board with this.
Okay, it depends on how you view weddings, though. Like, what is the purpose of your wedding? Like, if it's just some party that you're like, oh, I don't really believe it's like a religious thing. I'm just, having it to, but if you're just getting married just because you're like, whatever, let's just do this, then just go to the JOP and get married. Like, it's not that.
So this one says, unfortunately, modern weddings are less about a celebration of two individuals coming together and more about a showcase of wealth. But surely the focus should be on love and marital vows.
Okay, but you can't ethically police someone's reason for that, so whatever.
The two-color palette. Limiting your wedding to a standard two-color palette is a rubbish belief. If you're a fan of colors, express yourself. It's your wedding. Let your creative juices flow and display all color tones that match your personality.
That is petty and weird, and who cares? No one's gonna like.
I don't think it's a
This
rule.
wasn't an issue. I don't think anybody was complaining about this.
I feel like some of this stuff we've already let go of.
Yeah.
Like there's tradition, and then there's the I don't feel like doing tradition, and people don't. No one's gonna argue with you.
No,
you know, like
that's
no, you
ridiculous.
have to do this, and it's
Yeah.
like no, we don't care. All right, well it goes on, and some of these are silly. Clink to kiss. The glass clinking tradition.
Oh, you hate this anyway. You do this for every event, even if it's not a wedding. Oh, you don't clink glasses. It's not classy.
No. They mean the clinking like with a fork, where you take your fork and whack the glass. I don't like clinking when you toast. You know, like when you toast, you
whatever.
just raise your glass in the air. You don't need.
I
to
don't see an
smash it
issue
up
in
against.
either one. So
Yeah, the whole glass clinking. You just tap it to make them kiss. I think it's funny. But it does get old as the
gets
night
old.
goes on. There was none of that last night.
there was a little bit, but they totally ignored it.
Yeah, we're not doing it. Oh, but, all right. This will be our conclusion. They want to outdated wedding tradition like religious places. Believe it or not, it's not obligatory to get married at a religious place like a church, synagogue, or mosque. Marriages have been limited to entirely religious ceremonies, but there's so much more than that. If you're not super religious, it doesn't make sense to get married at a church. Get married at a place that means something to it, or have a destination wedding. Go somewhere you always wanted to go.
While I do agree that marriage is not a sacrament,
True.
it is a religious. Traditionally, I mean, it's religious. It's a covenant. It's
a thing.
It's not just, but I mean, I know in our culture today, nobody views it that way.
Well,
it's just this party that you have because you just love each other so much. But those are also the people that think love is just this feeling.
I do think it's a social construct that
Construct.
I can't say it's not construct, but it's a social contract
Yeah.
that does supersede religion, right? Different cultures, different religions, they all have something similar to it, the uniting of two people for a lifetime. And so it's like, yeah, if you want to have a non-religious one, that's fine. I do, so that doesn't bother me much. I do like this one. One-sided payment. The belief that the father of the bride is supposed to shoulder all the monetary burdens of a wedding. But that no
I
longer,
thought we'd done away with that a long time ago.
I'm very comfortable. Yeah, I like the idea of getting rid of that. I think honestly, it's like who can afford to chip in and help out. That's
well, and if we're not doing the whole big blowout just to showcase our extravagant wealth.
Yes.
We're just we're having a wedding. Like
it's hard for me to even like wrap my head around that because that's just never been where either of our families come
not
from.
at all.
That's not us.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
anyways, is the
Conclusion of our wedding
That's a
celebration.
Yes, Mazel Tov to the happy new couple. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for inviting us. But don't get rid of these cool traditions. Some of them I actually like.
JJ's pretty stuck to them. So.
I'm such a stick in the mud. I like the traditions. All right. Are you ready to send us out with the mom joke of the week?
Yeah.
What do you got?
How do you make a waterbed bouncier?
I have no idea.
Add spring water.
Spring water. Oh,
It's
hurts.
painful. It is. It's just so painful. All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye.